Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Got my You're Doing Great mug to encourage myself. So today's video is going to be anticipated releases for 2022. Basically what I'm gonna do, I made a list of some anticipated releases for next year on my Goodreads bookshelves. So I'm going to just scroll through and kind of talk about the books that have caught my attention for 2022, give you a little bit of the rundown, and just give you an idea of the books that are kind of on my radar for next year and ones that I'm probably going to pick up and read. I will give you the disclaimer that I'm not going to be going in order, so I'm not going to be going like January, February, March, April, May, like that. Just because when I've been going through and creating this list on my Goodreads account and finding books that I wanted to read next year or hearing about books, when I added them, they were added at the time that I heard about them or found them, so they're not in any sort of order like that. So just bear with me. I will tell you the release date and I will tell you like a little bit of a synopsis if there is one, but they're not going to be in order, so I apologize if that bothers you. With that, let's just get started. So the first book I'm anticipating next year is War of Dragons by Jessica Cluess. This book was supposed to come out in May 2021. And it never did. There was a lot of issues with the author. They got in a little bit of a Twitter battle with someone else, and they both kind of were calling each other names, and the author was dropped by the publisher. Whether you agree or disagree that that should have happened to this author, it happened. I am on the side of reading books as art and separating that art from the artist. So a lot of times, even when authors have like things going on in the background that aren't great, I will still read their books if it's something that I'm intrigued about. So this is the case for this one, and I read the first one, House of Dragons, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really curious to see where it's gonna go. So I was really disappointed that the book did not release earlier this year, and I'm hoping that it's gonna release in 2022. It does have a new date of May 11th, 2022, so I'm hoping that that's the case and that it does come out then. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I've been a little upset that I haven't been able to continue the series, so hopefully I can next year. And obviously this is the second book, and anytime it's going to be a sequel or another book in a series, I'm not going to really tell you the synopsis, but I can give you a hint of the first book. So the first book is basically about these 5 families, and the emperor, every time the emperor dies, these 5 families kind of compete in this competition with their dragons to see who will become the next emperor, and only one survives. And it was a lot of fun. There were dragons involved. Even though it didn't end the way I was hoping it would, I still think it's going to be an interesting series, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go, so hopefully I can continue in 2022. The next one I'm anticipating is For the Throne by Hannah Witten. I read For the Wolf earlier this year. I think I read it in June or July, and I really liked it. I thought it was a really good fairy tale retelling. It was dark and lush and wonderful, and I really had a good time with it. I really enjoyed it. I rated it much higher than I thought I was going to and enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, so I cannot wait for the second book. And this is number 2 in the duology, so this will be wrapping up the story, and I can't wait to see where it goes. It is slated to come out June 9th, 2022, and man, I can't wait. Also, the covers for these books are absolutely beautiful. I loved the first one. I love the second one. Stunning. And basically the first one is a more Beauty and the Beast with a little bit of Red Riding Hood retelling, more so Beauty and the Beast. And it's basically that when there are twin sisters, one is for the wolf and one is for the throne. So Rhaenyra's Red gets sacrificed to the wolf, but then she finds out that the wolf is a man and not a monster, and that things may not be what they seem in her town. Yeah, loved the first book, can't wait for the second. The next one I'm very excited about, and I believe this is a debut author. This is her first book coming out next year, and it's Only a Monster by Vanessa Lynn. And I stumbled upon this. I don't even know how, but I stumbled upon it just like scrolling through Bookstagram. And the premise for this sounds so good, so let me just give it to you right now. It should have been the perfect summer, sent to stay with her late mother's eccentric family in London. 16-year-old Joan is determined to enjoy herself. She loves her new nerdy job at the historic Holland House, and when her super cute coworker Nick asks her on a date, it feels like everything is falling into place. But she soon learns the truth. Her family aren't just eccentric, they're monsters, with terrifying hidden powers. And Nick isn't just a cute boy, he's a legendary monster slayer. Joan is forced to work with the beautiful and ruthless Erin Oliver, heir to a monster family that hates her own. She'll have to embrace her own monstrousness if she is to save herself and her family, because in this story, she is not the hero. Monster families and monster hunters, sign me up. I'm pumped. I cannot wait. This sounds so good. I believe it's the first book in a series. It looks like there's slated to already be 3 books. I don't know. I'm very excited about this. It's supposed to come out February 17th, 2022. I am pumped. Can't wait. I love monsters and stuff like that, so sounds amazing. The next one, I am so excited about. I pre-ordered this. I can't wait. It's going to be forever till it comes out. It's A Nightmare Before Christmas book, and it's Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Ernshaw. Like, that's all I needed to know. Literally it. That's all I needed to know. I've never seen someone write a Nightmare Before Christmas book. I am so pumped. Shea Ernshaw just came out with a book. I think it's like The History of Wild Places. It's brand new. She also wrote The Wicked Deep and Winterwood. I've never read any of her books. I do have The Wicked Deep. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But I don't care. I am so excited. This is about Sally. It's talking about that she's just become the Pumpkin Queen and she's starting to question things. And it seems like she's struggling with her role as queen and being cast in the spotlight and kind of wrestling with the idea that, you know, it seems like a dream to become royalty or a queen or whatever. But then when you're in that position, it can feel like you're trapped. And she goes on her own adventure and stumbles upon another door in a dream town, which then, much like A Night Before Christmas, has these sinister consequences. It sounds so good. I can't wait. I'm so excited for this book. A Jack and Sally romance. I just can't even, words are not coming for how excited I am for this book. But I'm gonna have to wait because it's supposed to come out July 5th, 2022. But my birthday's in July, so that's an upside. So yeah, I just cannot wait. I am pumped for that one. I don't think there's any other Nightmare Before Christmas books that I'm aware of. There could be, but none that I know of. Another one that I'm kind of looking forward to, this one's strange because I haven't read the first book yet, but I am planning on reading the first one and I am planning on reading the second one, and I'm kind of hoping I can get to the first one the same month as the first one, kind of read them back to back. We'll see. Anyway, that is the second Crescent City novel, House of Sky and Breath. So I haven't read Crescent City, but I do own it and I do want to read it eventually. There's certain series where if I have the first one, I will continue to get them if I know I'm going to read it. There's some where I will only buy the first one, and until I finish the first one, I'm not going to keep buying them. This is one of those cases where I know I'm going to want to know what happens, so I'm going to buy the second one. And I am kind of excited about it. I do really like the idea of this world. I think it sounds really interesting, and I've been putting it off because I've been going through her other series. But yeah, so I am excited about this release. I am going to get it. I did pre-order it. I love the blue. The blue is stunning. The red one was really pretty too, but blue is my favorite color. So the blue is just beautiful. And this is set to come out February 15th, 2022. It's also going to be 768 pages. Help me. And obviously this is a sequel, but the first one is basically about Rice, the main character. Her friend either died, I think her friend is murdered, and she teams up with this fallen angel that is a detective, and it's like a city of all these creatures. That's all I know about it, and I love that. I just love that. When I heard it was a fallen angel, like detective or deputy, whatever he is, that's literally all it took for me to want to read that book, because that sounds so fun. But yeah, that's all I know about it, and I'm gonna still get the second one. Did I say it was by Sarah J. Maas? I hope I did, but I mean, you should know that. Her name's everywhere. Another anticipated release that I know a lot of people are looking forward to, and a lot of people are probably going to pick up immediately, is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. And I would say the premise of this book is a little bit vague. From what I've heard, I could be wrong, but it sounds interesting. I really like mythical or fairy tale retelling, so any type of other culture myth, I love. Any type of fairy tale retelling, I love. So this is up my alley. The cover is beautiful. This is set to come out January 11th, 2022, so this is going to come out pretty quickly. And it's the Celestial Kingdom duology. I love that name. And this is about the legend of the Chinese moon goddess, which of course sounds great. And it talks about it being a young woman's quest to free her mother, which pits her against the most powerful immortal in the realm. That's really all I need to know, and it sounds really fun. The next one I'm really looking forward to is League of Liars by Astrid Schult. I think that's how you say her last name. Cover's very intriguing. And this is pitched as a fantasy thriller. And I don't know how that's gonna come out or what that's gonna be, because I know, like, obviously when you read A House of Salt and Sorrows, that's kind of a horror fantasy, and this is a thriller fantasy. So I'm not sure, but I think I'm really gonna enjoy it. And it's talking about 4 teens being charged with murder and the illegal use of magic, and that they band together to devise a jailbreak. So that just sounds kind of like Six of Crows, but different. I don't want to compare things to other books because I don't like putting expectations on new series and new authors. I think this is a debut author. Let me check. Oh no, she wrote The Vanishing Deep. I've never read that book, but anyway. So it sounds kind of like Six of Crows-esque thing. So I really like Jailbreak. That sounds like a lot of fun. But obviously when it's tied in with magic and fantasy, I'm here for it. It does say on Goodreads, perfect for the fans of Six of Crows and How to Get Away with Murder. Never watched How to Get Away with Murder, but I do like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and other kind of psychological thrillers. So thriller fantasy, really different, really intrigued, really excited to read it. And it's supposed to come out February 22nd, 2022. I know I'm gonna say 2022 for all these books, but obviously all of these are supposed to come out in 2022. I'm sorry. The next one that's gonna come out pretty soon, and I also pre-ordered this one, is The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. This is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. That's literally the only reason I'm gonna read it. I love Sleeping Beauty. It's my favorite Disney prince and princess, not my favorite Disney movie, my favorite Disney prince and princess, and I love Maleficent. She's one of the best Disney villains ever because she gets to turn into a dragon. So, and I'm always looking for Sleeping Beauty retellings, and I feel like there aren't a lot. I feel like there's more coming out. There have been more coming out recently, and I need to find them, and I need to read a lot of them. But I was very excited about this because it is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and it's talking about it being a Sleeping Beauty meets Indiana Jones type story, and it's a thrilling fairy tale, and it's for fans of Sorcery of Thorns and All the Stars and Teeth, which I did enjoy. I didn't love All the Stars and Teeth 2, but I did like the first one, and I haven't read Sorcery of Thorns, but I think I'm gonna love it. Like, one of the characters is like a bookish treasure hunter, and the other one is like a tough warrior girl, and they're saving the prince who's under a sleeping curse. It's got dark magic, witch hunters, and I say no more. Like, I'm here for it. It's Sleeping Beauty. I'm so excited. So excited. I did pre-order this. It's coming out January 11th, 2022. Does that not sound great? And I believe this is also a debut author. The next two are gonna be of literal no surprise to anyone, which is going to be Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the 3rd book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I love that series so much. And this is the final book. So Carrie Maniscalco better wrap this up, and she better give me what I want. Well, not what I want, but she better wrap all this up and give us the answers we need. I don't actually believe there's a date for this yet. It is slated for 2022, and I think it's gonna be October, but I don't think the actual date is set yet. So I hope we get the date soon, but it is supposed to come out next year. And we did get the title like a couple days ago, so very excited. If you don't know what Kingdom of the Wicked is about, basically there's the twin sisters, and Emilia finds her twin brutally murdered, and it involves some demonic activity, some demon princes. She summons a demon prince from hell, thinking she's gonna get a lesser demon, but she gets a prince, and they're trying to solve the murder while trying to not die and get sucked into the Kingdom of the Wicked. But yeah, absolutely love this series. I adored the 2nd book. I loved the 1st book. I adored the 2nd book. Can't wait for the 3rd. I have so long to wait. The next is my most anticipated release of 2022, which is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart. I loved Once Upon a Broken Heart. It was my most anticipated release of this year. I loved it. I was obsessed. I have a lot of copies of it. I just gush about Caraval and Once Upon a Broken Heart all the time. This is also in the Caraval universe, and this is picking up where the 2nd one left off, and I'm very excited to see where this goes and kind of where the mystery starts to unfold. I don't know if this is going to be a duology or a trilogy at the moment, but we did get the title, I believe, yesterday, and it's set to come out September 27th, 2022, and there's no, like, really synopsis or anything yet, but the first one follows Evangeline, who makes a deal with Jax, a fate, when the man she loves is supposed to marry someone else. So, cannot wait. I will be so annoying about that book all of 2022. I will be freaking out about anything from cover reveals to pre-orders to anything. So, I'm sorry, but I love it. I love the Caraval universe. And if you watch this channel, you know that, so you probably expect that at this point. Another one I'm really looking forward to that I wasn't sure about at first, actually, but the more I've read from this author, the more I'm going to read it. And that is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is set to come out March 1st, 2022. It talks about it being the secret garden meets Crimson Peak, and it's perfect for readers of Holly Black and Neil Gaiman. All of that doesn't mean a lot to me because I've not read or seen any of those things, and I haven't read from either of those authors, actually. I did watch the movie Stardust, and I want to read the book Stardust. And I have Cruel Prince, and I'm going to probably get to that soon, but I haven't really delved into any of those things. But it's V.E. Schwab. Because it's V.E. Schwab, I'm going to read it. She's kind of become an auto-buy author, and an author that I'm probably going to read everything she puts out, because everything I've read from her so far has been amazing to me, and I really enjoyed it. And I know not everybody enjoys all of her writing, but so far I've really liked everything I've read from her. So I'm probably going to continue to read anything she puts out. And it kind of sounds basically like there's two worlds. There's a normal world and a shadow world. Something happens where the characters involved are on the scene and they can travel between the two worlds, is what I'm understanding. In this little synopsis, it says, everything casts a shadow, even the world we live in, and as with every shadow, there is a place where it must touch, a seam where the shadow meets its source. Victoria Schwab weaves a dark and original tale about the place where the world meets its shadow and the young woman beckoned by both sides. Again, all I need to know is that and that it's written by V.E. Schwab. I'm down, I'm here for it. It sounds really good. I hope it's a standalone. It might not be. I don't believe her next Darker Shades of Magic series is coming out yet. I need to finish the first series first, but excited. The next book, this is funny because I just talked about Holly Black. The next book that I'm curious about is Book of Night by Holly Black. This is her first adult fantasy, I believe. And like I said, I've never read The Cruel Prince. I've never read any of those books. As of now, I will get to them eventually. This is set to come out May 3rd, 2022. I'm curious about it because, you know, this is a really popular author and she's delving into the adult fantasy realm. I'm trying to get into more adult fantasy, and I like to kind of follow a lot of YA authors that then go into adult fantasy. I don't know why, but it's happened to me several times and I've really enjoyed what's happened. So curious about this. I also have like a weird habit of, with a lot of popular authors, reading their second work before their first work. I don't know why, but it's kind of been a pattern with me, and it's probably going to continue for authors like this. This book is kind of pitched as being a modern dark fantasy about shadowy thieves and secret societies. Sounds interesting. It talks about it being in the vein of Ninth House and the Night Circus, which I don't know how I feel about that description. I've never read Ninth House. I love Leigh Bardugo, but I don't know if I'll do that. We'll see. I have read The Night Circus. I wasn't a huge fan of how it was executed, but I think the premise would be really great. So if the premise was executed well, I think I would have loved it. And this sounds really interesting, and it talks about shadows can be altered for entertainment and cosmetic preferences, but also to increase power and influence. You can alter someone's feelings and memories, but manipulating shadows has a cost, with the potential to take hours or days from your life. What? And so a lot of that sounds kind of vague and interesting and creepy and magical. So I'm curious about this. I can't wait. This sounds like something that will be very interesting to me. The cover's beautiful. I don't know, I'm excited. Another book I'll just kind of throw out there that I will read eventually is Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shannon McGuire. This is the next installment in the Wayward Children series. I'm slowly going through the Wayward Children series. I just finished book 4, so I have 2 more books before I could even read this book. But, you know, if you know the Wayward Children series, you know you just kind of keep going. It's supposed to come out January 4th, 2022. Another one that I'm really intrigued by is A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Fazel. I know I butchered that name, I'm so sorry. But this is the same author as We Hunt the Flame, which I actually haven't read, but I think I'll really like. And I don't know, this book just sounded really interesting to me. It was to come out November 8th, 2022. And it's pitched as the first in a duology where it's King Arthur meets Peaky Blinders with vampires. What? I can't even fathom what that means, but I'm intrigued and I want to read it. And it's similar like heist type story. So it's like a group of outcasts going on a deadly heist to save her tea room, which fronts as an illegal blood house where local vampires can purchase fresh blood. So there you go. I don't know, sounds really fun, sounds like a good time. I'm here for it. No cover as of yet. I'm sure we'll get it eventually. Another one that's kind of on my radar is This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. I've never read Tahereh Mafi's works. This would be the first one that I will read. The Shatter Me series has never been something. I don't know why. I think in theory that should be something I would be interested in, but I've just never been interested in reading it. So I'm probably never going to read it unless I really enjoy this book and then I want to like read all of her stuff. This Woven Kingdom is something that I'm going to read. It's kind of piqued my interest, especially in this author. It's supposed to come out February 1st, 2022. And it's kind of described as like clashing empires, forbidden romance, a long forgotten queen destined to save her people. And it talks about this is the first in an epic romantic trilogy inspired by Persian mythology. I told you I like mythology and I like fairy tale retellings. It's Persian mythology. I've never heard anything about Persian mythology, so I'm down. Like, let's go. That's all I know about it. I'm good with that. Hopefully it's good. Another one that was recently announced, I think we knew that there was going to be a second book, but whatever, is Cursed by Marissa Meyer. This was the second in the Gilded duology. It's supposed to come out November 8th, 2022, and I did a book review on Gilded. It's up on my channel. I can link it down below, but I really enjoyed that book. I had such a fun time with it. It's a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and it's very dark and Germanic and cold and wonderful and gloomy and great, and I can't wait for book 2. The first one, you're following the main character as she ends up in a situation where she lies and she likes to tell stories, and she ends up trying to spin gold for the Erkling and gets into some trouble and trying to get out of that, and the situation continues and the situation gets more dire, and I can't wait to see what happens in book 2. I love Marissa Meyer. I will read anything she puts out probably. The next one, and this cover's crazy beautiful and watercolory, is A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy L. Lin. I think it's L. Lin. This is supposed to come out in March 22nd, 2022. And I just kind of stumbled across this. I hadn't really heard anybody talk about it, and I was just kind of looking for books that were coming out next year, and I found this. And it sounds pretty interesting. It's also a first in a duology. And the second one, like the title and everything's already been announced, and it's A Venom Dark and Sweet. And it says it's sure to enchant fans of Adrienne Young and Leigh Bardugo. And basically the main character lost her mother, but she finds out that it was her fault because she was the one who unknowingly brewed her poison tea that ended up killing her mother. And the same poison is now threatening to take her sister. So that sounds interesting. It has elements of like ancient tea making and some magic and maybe a competition. There's a lot of stuff in here that's kind of cool and pretty different. So I'm pretty excited about it because it is so different. So yeah, looking forward to that. I'm sorry there's so many books on this list. Another one that I'm curious about is Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen. This is the first in an untitled duology. It's supposed to come out July 26, 2022. It's a darkly enchanting fantasy debut about a morally gray witch. Awesome. A cursed prince and a prophecy that ignites their fate-twisted destinies. It says it's perfect for fans of The Cruel Prince and Serpent and Dove, and literally all I needed to know was that it's about a morally gray witch, and I was down. And basically what it sounds like is the main character is a prophet, but she's kind of a false prophet. She lies about different things to kind of twist and manipulate the situations, but then she kind of starts trying to do this to the prince and his romantic future, and then I think she kind of starts falling for the prince, and then she ends up awakening some sort of prophecy, and the prophecy is threatening the kingdom, and so she has to kind of choose between, you know, controlling her destiny, keeping herself safe, and then helping this prince, I think. So sounds really cool. Very excited. I've never heard anything from this author. It looks like she's got some short story things, but maybe this is her first like debut novel. But yeah, sounds good. Next one is This Vicious Grace by Emily Fieldy. I'm sure I'm butchering everyone's names, I'm sorry. This is the first in the Last Finestra series. This is supposed to come out June 28th, 2022. And it says 3 weddings, 3 funerals, Alessa's gift from the god is supposed to magnify a partner's magic, not kill every suitor she touches. Now with only weeks left until a hungry swarm of demons devours everything on her island home, Alessa is running out of time to find a partner and stop the invasion. Sounds interesting, great, wonderful. A lot of these, they just have like little bit of premises that are really intriguing to me, and that's obviously why I'm anticipating them. And I don't know a lot about them necessarily, but willing to give it a shot. Sounds fun. And this is also a debut author. The next one is Monsters Born and Made by Tanvi Barwa. I think that's how you say their name. This is supposed to come out in September 2022. I don't have a specific date yet. And it's basically, from what I understand, it's It's writing from the perspective of a girl from a family of sea monster trainers. That sounds amazing. And they're gonna be entered in this like monster chariot race. That's all I know about it. That's literally, I read that and I immediately added it to this list because I was like, sea monster trainers, they're gonna be entering a chariot race? Yes. Like, you can't tell me that doesn't sound good. Even if it's executed poorly, that premise is amazing. So excited about that. The next one I'm really excited about, and I did pre-order this, and that is Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. And this is supposed to come out April 5th, 2022. And the reason I'm really excited about it is because it gives me Caraval vibes. I know nothing will come close, but it sounds so good. It does say it's for fans of Caraval and the Night Circus. It says this decadent and darkly enchanting YA fantasy follows 17-year-old Janny as she uncovers the deeply disturbing secrets of the legendary Hotel Magnifique. So basically, I think how this is gonna go is she goes to this hotel and it's magical and amazing and you get lost in it, but there are sinister secrets this hotel is holding and she's trying to figure out what's going on. The hotel is like legendary for how whimsical it is. And there's something to do with this hotel of people signing contracts with the hotel. And the main character finds out that the contracts are unbreakable and that beneath all of the glamour, the hotel is hiding these really dangerous secrets. I can't wait. I feel like this is gonna be very much Caraval vibes. If not, I'm still gonna really like it. It sounds like something I will really enjoy. I'm very excited for it. The cover's also beautiful. Can't wait for that. The next one is The Darkening by Sunya Mara. This is set to come out July 5th, 2022. This is a YA fantasy debut, and it says that the only hope for a city trapped in the eye of a cursed storm lies with the daughter of a failed revolutionary and a prince terrified of his throne. So it sounds like she's gonna be like trying to figure out how her mother died, harnessing magic that's forbidden. This prince doesn't want to take his throne. It sounds interesting, and it's in the eye of a storm kind of thing, a magical storm. It sounds cool. That's all I know about it. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by all of these, obviously, and you know, a lot of them I don't have much to say other than a little bit of the synopsis because that's all I know, but that's all a lot of us know, so bear with me. The next one I'm curious about, it's Castle in Their Bones by Laura Sebastian. This is the same author that wrote The Ash Princess, which I have that trilogy and I haven't read it yet, but it's supposed to come out February 1st, 2022, and I'm really intrigued by the premise. It's the first fantasy trilogy as well. And there's these three daughters, three princesses, these three sisters are supposed to go and marry their princes. And one of the things it says is that everybody assumes that they're very demure and, you know, calm and all this stuff. And it says everyone underestimates a girl, which is their first mistake. And apparently the princesses have been trained at birth in the arts of deception, seduction, and violence with one goal in mind, to bring down the monarchy. So it's like they're being sent to marry these princes to just bring down all of those kingdoms, to then like take over the kingdom. What? Like, that just sounds crazy and really fun and just twisty-turny. So I'm kind of curious to see how that story will unfold, and I need to know. I need to know what happens. The next one I won't stay on too long, but it's the Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. This is the third in the Deadly Education series, or the Scholomance series. I read A Deadly Education a few months ago, really enjoyed it. I'm going to continue with The Last Graduate, and I will read the third book. So excited for this to come out, even though I'm not going to be able to read it immediately because I still haven't read the second. I don't have a date or a month for you on this one, but it is supposed to come out in 2022. Obviously, a lot of these could get pushed back or things could happen with all of the stuff that's going on in the world right now, but excited for that. Deadly Education is basically you go to a magical school and you either graduate or you die. Another one, this is a very odd one for me to talk about because I haven't read any of the series yet, but it's Silverborn by Jessica Townsend, and this is the fourth installment in the Nevermore series. I have the first three books, and I'm going to continue to buy the UK editions because I really think they're stunning, and I want to collect them, and I also want to read them all. And I've been dying to read them, and I just never got to it, so I'm going to continue buying them. So I am anticipating this release, even though I haven't read it yet, but hopefully it can get to Nevermore in 2022 as well. And this is supposed to come out October 13th, 2022. Basically, how you would describe Nevermore from a little bit of a synopsis is just kind of like a female Harry Potter. Magical school setting, but everything that goes wrong in her town is blamed on her until she's like slated to, or she's set to like die, I think, on one of her birthdays, and this like magical teacher in school come and get her to take her to this magical school. Next one I'm really anticipating, even though I haven't even finished the first book, and that is The Hunger of Gods by John Gwynne. This is supposed to come out April 2022. This is the second in the Bloodsworn saga, and I haven't finished or even gotten into a lot of the first book. And even though I'm disappointed about that, what I have gotten to in the first book, I've really enjoyed, and I will read the series. I think I'm gonna love the series. This is the second installment, and the cover's amazing. The premise of the first book is amazing, even though it's very vague. I'm very excited about this, even though I don't know a lot. And the Shadow of the Gods is following three perspectives. You're kind of following a mother-son perspective, and then a ex-slave perspective that ran away, who are trying to like make their way into the world, but also trying to figure out what is going on with this mysterious threat that's being unleashed. I will buy this, I'm pumped. Another one that's supposed to come out in 2022, but there's no set date for it, is When Women Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. That title's great. This says it's a speculative novel about a young woman's journey of loss, rage, and self-discovery as she deals with the events leading up to and beyond the mass dragoning of 1955. Over 300,000 women transformed into dragons. Like, that's all you know about this book. But what, doesn't that sound so great? I've never read anything by this author, but she's the one who wrote The Girl Who Drank the Moon, which I do want to read, but I haven't yet. I'm so intrigued by this premise. Dragons for one, but like, what? This sounds so crazy. So I don't know when this is going to come out, but I will read it when it does. The next one is Beasts of Ruin by Ayanna Gray. This is supposed to come out July 26, 2022. I did read Beasts of Prey this year. I did like it. It wasn't my favorite, but I do want to know what happens, and I'm curious to see how she's going to take the story and how it's going to unfold. So I will read this. The first one is basically about two characters, one of which is trying to escape a debt and finds out she has forbidden magic, and the other one is trying to become a guard, but gets tied up in a sticky situation, and they both make a pact to hunt down this monster in their jungle. The next one is These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. I just finished These Hollow Vows, which is probably a spoiler for my wrap up, but whatever. I really had a fun time with it. It was enjoyable. Fast-paced, kind of fun read, something I was looking forward to. I wanted some fun reads in December. So I'm curious to see where the story is going to go and how she's going to kind of take it. This is set to come out July 19th, 2022. And the first book is basically about her sister getting stolen by the Unseelie Court, which is Faye, and then she goes to the Unseelie Court and makes a deal to steal things from the Seelie Court and kind of like use it to betray this prince. If she doesn't steal his heart, she'll never get these artifacts to steal, and how all that plays out. So it was a good time. I had fun with it, and I'm curious to see how it's gonna go. We're getting there, I promise. Another one I'm really looking forward to, which is so strange for me, is The Gentleman's Gambit by Evie Dunmore. This is the fourth installment in A League of Extraordinary Women. I believe this is the last in the series. I read Bringing Down the Duke this month, and I really liked it. I was kind of surprised because romance isn't really my thing, but I really like these novels. They have like British sass. They've got a lot of like feminist themes, so it's something that just kind of spoke to me, and I knew I would enjoy it from the beginning. Now that I've read the first one, I know I'm gonna like the series, so I'm even looking forward to book 4 before I've even read book 2 and 3, but excited about that one, and it's supposed to come out in September 2022. The next one was just announced like the other day, and I freaked out, and that's Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo. And this is a graphic novel about the Darkling. Say less. I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait. I freaked out. Demon in the Wood is a short story at the end of the Grishaverse, and then you get to see like a little bit of the Darkling and why he is the way he is. But this is an expanded story. It's 208 pages. It's a graphic novel. I'm pumped. I love the Darkling. I'm so glad we're getting Darkling content. Oh my gosh, I could not be more excited. I'm losing my ever-loving mind about this. It comes out September 27th, 2022. I don't know if I said that, but so many books that I want are going to come out in September, and it's going to be glorious. Not from our bank account, but oh, can't wait. Are you excited about that? The next one, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I think, like, I'm obviously intrigued, but I'm not sure how the execution will go. Anyway, it's The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd-Jones. It's supposed to come out August 16th, 2022. And this is the same author as The Bone Houses. I haven't read that, but it's kind of an interesting book premise. And this is a magical ethereal fantasy. And it says, once upon a time, the kingdoms of Wales were rife with magic and conflict. An 18-year-old Mare is well acquainted with both. She is the last living water diviner and has spent years running from the prince who bound her into his service. Under the prince's orders, she located the wells of his enemies, and he poisoned them without her knowledge, causing hundreds of deaths. After discovering what he had done, Mare went to great lengths to disappear from his reach. Then Mare's old handler returns with a proposition. Use her powers to bring down the very prince that abused them both. The best way to do that is to destroy the magical well that keeps the prince lands safe. With a motley crew of allies, including a fae-cursed young man, the Lady of Thieves, and a corgi that may or may not be a spy, Mare may finally be able to steal precious freedom and peace for herself. After all, a person with a knife is one thing, but a person with a cause can topple kingdoms. And apparently this is set in the same world as the Bone Houses, but like a way different part of the world and new characters, all that dark fairy tale-esque. So that premise sounds hilarious, but also really interesting, and yeah, I want to read it, obviously. The next one I'm kind of curious about is by Adeline Grace, and that is Belladonna. This is the same author as All the Stars and Teeth. I enjoyed All the Stars and Teeth, but not the second that much in the duology. So I'm willing to give this author kind of like another chance. And this is supposed to come out August 23rd, 2022. And it says, a girl confronts death and her own deathly powers to solve a murder in this gothic-infused romantic young adult fantasy. Sounds nice. From what I understand, these people start dying and they think it's an illness, but then somebody claims it's not an illness, it's poison. And this main character, Signa, makes an alliance with Death himself, the very man she hates the most. So that's kind of all I know. Sounds great. I like making deals with death. That sounds like a good time. So yeah, I'm curious about this. This may be like one of those times where if I don't like this book, I may not read anything else from this author. We'll see. But I'm really curious about this premise, and we'll see how it goes. The next one is kind of intriguing. So this is The Witch King by Martha Wells. And Martha Wells is the author of the Murderbot Diaries. I read the first one this year, and I really loved it. It was really funny and really great. This is her first fantasy. Honestly, without even knowing the premise, that's all I needed to know was that this is the first fantasy from the author of the Murderbot Diaries. There's actually no premise. Like, if you look on Goodreads, I don't see any sort of synopsis. It's supposed to come out in 2022, but there's no month or date. That's all I know. I want to read it. The next one is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is supposed to come out April 26, 2022. And basically, it's these two sisters and they're trapped with this abusive prince. And the one sister, Mara, knows that they're never going to get out of this unless she takes it upon herself to get out. No one's going to be rescuing them, so she seeks help from a powerful grave witch and offered tools to kill the prince, but only if she can complete 3 impossible tasks. And so she goes on this quest to do so, and she's joined by the grave witch, a reluctant fairy godmother, a strapping former knight, and a chicken possessed by a demon. And I think when I got to that part of synopsis is when I actually added it to my anticipated releases, because the rest of it sounded interesting and cool. But that part I was like, I have to know what that's like. I have to read about a demon-possessed chicken. But they say it's like a fairy tale mythic renaissance. And I don't know, it just sounds really funny and interesting. So I want to read it. I've never read anything from this author, but I have heard of A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. And I did want to read that book and I just never picked it up and I never did. So curious about this book. And the last one, at least for now, this may be like a part 1, part 2 type video later on, but for now, the last one that I'm anticipating is The Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. This is supposed to come out October 18th, 2022. And it says, Elspeth Spindle needs more than luck to stay safe in the eerie, mist-locked kingdom of Blunder. She needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an ancient mercurial spirit trapped in her head. He protects her. He keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. And so basically she runs into a stranger, her life takes a really drastic turn, and then she's thrust into this world of shadow and deception, and she joins a dangerous quest to cure Blunder from this dark magic that's poisoning it, infecting it, and she teams up with the king's nephew to do so, and they have to gather these 12, I'm assuming, magical cards to do so, because they're the key to the cure. But this nightmare monster inside her head is slowly taking over her mind. And so if this nightmare monster takes over her mind, she might not be able to stop it. So it sounds like she's going to be fighting this nightmare madness monster while she's trying to save this kingdom from the dark magic. So it sounds really interesting. I had not heard anything about this book, but I'm really curious about it now. It's being published by Orbit, and I've had a good track record with Orbit. Just enjoying their books. I don't know if that's I don't usually pay attention to publishers, but with Orbit, for some reason, I feel like that's kind of a constant with me. Never heard of this author. Sounds like a unique premise. Really curious to see the execution of this and see how it goes. All right, everyone. Well, that is a lot of the books that I am anticipating being released in 2022. I would love to see what books you're anticipating in 2022, especially if it's ones that I didn't have in this list. I would love for you to leave them in the comments down below. I hope you have a Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Hopefully you had a good reading year in 2021, and here's to a better reading year in 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.